What's going on, guys? Let's talk about compressed air tanks. So we're going to assume that you already know the difference between compressed air and CO2. If you don't, we're going to put a link right up here for another video we did a couple weeks ago about the difference between compressed air and CO2. Check that out and then come back to this. So essentially there's two categories we can put compressed air tanks in. These aluminum style ones, like this 48 3000 from Tipman, or carbon fiber tanks like this 68 4500 Empire basic compressed air tank. Then within those carbon fiber style tanks, there are standard kind of normal gray carbon fiber tanks, and then at least what Empire is calling their ultra tanks, or what Ninja is calling their super light tanks. So really between these two tanks, or most of the compressed air tanks, the regulators are going to be the same. And that price difference, what you're really paying for is that bottle. So like, let's say price-wise, these 48s are going to find commonly for $50. And these gray carbon fiber tanks can really start anywhere from $130 up to, I want to say like $160-ish. But essentially, yeah, what you're paying for is that carbon fiber bottle versus the aluminum bottle. It just costs more to make the thing. The advantages of, like, say, these carbon fiber bottles over the aluminum bottles are really going to be three things. They can hold a higher pressure. So nowadays, all these carbon fiber tanks can hold 4,500 psi versus the 3,000 that you can hold in aluminum tanks. They're also typically lighter. When we compare these two sizes, though, there's not much of a weight difference, but we also have to think that this is 68 cubic inches versus that 48 cubic inches. So while the weight's not all that similar, really this tank is bigger. And they're able to make these tanks bigger just because they can make the walls a little bit thinner. Where these are solid aluminum, this is aluminum wrapped in carbon fiber. So that carbon fiber is much lighter and really technically ends up being stronger than the aluminum. So they can make the wall thickness, a lot thinner, which makes the tank lighter. And the overall exterior dimensions of the bottle smaller, but are able to get bigger inside dimensions to hold, more compressed air. So that's the difference, at least, between these aluminum tanks and carbon fiber tanks. Both of these tanks also can come in a variety of sizes. The most common carbon fiber tank size, though, is probably that 68. And then the most common aluminum tank size is going to be that 48. So these carbon fiber tanks can come in a variety of sizes. Like I said, that 68 is going to be the most popular size, but they're made anywhere from 45, 48, 50, 68, 77, 80, 90, 100. So there's a lot of sizes. And for the most part, picking that size is going to be dictated on how many shots you want. So I think obviously the bigger tank that's going to hold more air is going to get more shots than a smaller tank. For instance, this 68, you're going to get about 1,200 shots, and then maybe about 700 shots when both of these are filled to 4,500. The length of the tank can also have a little bit to do with picking the size. For some bigger people, if you want that longer, extended kind of feel on a gun, that 68 or longer style, say like the 77 or 80, can feel a little bit better, but we'll get back to that. So just like those carbon fiber tanks, the aluminum tanks can also come in a variety of sizes. Like this 13-inch is going to be, 13 cubic inch tank is going to be the smallest compressed air tank. I believe there's a 22, a 28, a 35, this 48, and the Ninja makes a 62, which is pretty big and heavy. But those are going to be, again, based on how many shots you want and maybe what kind of feel it's going to have on a gun. This 13 is pretty small. Most mag-fed players use these, or some people put them on pump guns as well, because this will get only around 100 shots, where this 48, that common size, is about 500. So that's really all aluminum tanks. They're pretty basic. They got a regulator, bigger bottles, more shots. So while the aluminum tanks are pretty basic, it's mainly just going to be bigger bottles. The compressed air tanks get a little more complicated. So essentially there's two main styles of compressed air tanks. There's these lighter style bottles, which Ninja is calling the super lights, or that same lighter style bottle that Empire call the Ultra. So the main difference between these two compressed air tanks, somewhat like the difference between the aluminum tanks and the carbon fiber tanks, is going to be weight and size. Super light tanks are going to be about 30% lighter than a tank similar in size that's made just from classic, normal, gray carbon fiber style tanks. A good example is this Ninja 68 4500 Super Light compared to this Ninja 68 Gray Ghost tank. These are about 3 pounds, and then this is about 2 pounds. So it's noticeable when you hold them. That pound is noticeable. Another big difference is size. Yeah, so with these super light tanks, they've been able to make the wall thickness quite a bit thinner, which reduces material and, yeah, like I said, makes it lighter, but it also makes the overall bottle dimensions quite a bit smaller. So like if we stand these up, right like that, you can see that that 68 Gray Ghost one is about, I don't know, we'll go with half an inch shorter, but it's also smaller in diameter. So it's smaller in diameter and a little bit more compacted. So a lot of people now, like, we'll put this down, like this 77 length, because it gives you a little bit more air. This 77 SL is still lighter than this Gray Ghost one, but if we stand them up, they're even a little bit closer in size. This 77's a little longer, but it's not terribly dramatic. So that's the main difference between carbon fiber bottles, at least. There's also different regulators. So you can see on there that that one's going to have Ninja's standard 4500 regulator, and then that right there is Ninja's Pro V2 regulator. The Pro V2 regulator is better than the standard regulator, but I don't know, not that much. Ninja says it has a higher flow rate, but I don't know if that flow rate matters. I mean, it might matter if we're shooting like 50 balls a second or something, but on a typical paintball gun, I don't know if that flow rate matters all that much. The coolest thing about these Pro regulators, at least, is that you can loosen the set screws on that silver collar right there, and then rotate just this bonnet section so that you can line up wherever your gauge stops or fill nipple to a specific gun. So I think it's also important when picking a compressed air tank is picking a size which fits your body and gun best. Even if you don't need, you know, a ton of shots, sometimes it can make sense to get like one of these larger style, say like this 77 style tank. So let's put some tanks on a gun and I'll show you what I'm saying. We're gonna use this sweet Russian Legion Intimidator for our demo purposes. So I really like these 80 cubic inch Empire Ultra tanks. Not so much for the air, like I don't really need an 80, for shot wise at least, but when I hold it, it just feels really good to me. So I like the length of that. Like I said, it makes like snap shooting, coming out and shooting and stuff easier. Also running and shooting's a lot easier. But it really is just kind of preference. So for me, a tank like this 50 cubic inch is too short. So when I hold it, like, look how close I am to this thing. So I feel like I'm gonna hit my face on the front of the gun. That's just weird. So my arm's all super cramped. So I don't like that feel. I want that thing out there. But that's me. See, I don't like that feel. You might. The best way to choose tanks is probably gonna be decide how many shots you want, and then get to a paintball store, bring your gun with you, and ask them if you can just put different sizes on there, and then figure out which one feels the best for you. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. If you have more questions, like always, comment below. I'll get to you.